From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white,
Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Wyoming. These are the states that have no state income tax. What are the states with the most debt? California, New York, Illinois, Connecticut. Boy, what are the common denominators of both? Democrats run bankruptcies. Republicans don't, and it's tax-free. What's the decision? What's to talk about? Success, failure, and how capitalism is affected by communism in America disguised as Democrats. Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, host of the Cow Guy Close on RFD TV. How are you, handsome?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait for Wednesdays in my life.
Did you ever think you'd say that? Hump Day. Kamala Harris Hump Day. However, it's really that simple at this point of the game. When you look at the magnitude of the failure of these once great areas like our own. I don't know if you saw this idea of deserts of business and food, but there's another store that was existing primarily on SNAP benefits, closing. There's 7 chains in Chicago. I mean, the failure is so undeniable. The incompetence, the corruption, the malpractice of the education and services. Why are we still entertaining Democrats? Why haven't we outlawed the idea if you're dumb enough to be a Democrat, you can't vote anymore?
It's gotten so polarized, and it's interesting. I did a story about this 2 days ago, but we've disenfranchised. There's a lot of disenfranchised people out there, and it's not. Some of it's due to their fault. A lot of it's due to some government policies, but they still believe that the conservatives are out for big business and looking after the rich. When it's actually flipped now, the conservatives are more of a working man's group, but they can't get it out of their brains. But there are more there's more people that are generous in the Conservative Party. They're about the dollars and cents. Yeah, there is a social safety net, but you got to run some things fiscally responsible, or you're going to have nothing. It's going to go to hell in a handbasket, like all those states that you just brought up. It's undeniable. The math does not lie. We used to have a football coach at Colorado who would always say that he would tape practices and say the eye in the sky does not lie. Well, the numbers in this case do not lie, whether they're good or they're bad. And it just goes to show you that for somehow there's this plausible deniability where these people just don't want to believe what's right in front of their very faces until it's going to be too late. Because once they realize it, it'll be too late.
Well, and there's no argument. You think I'm having an argument with you? I made my choice. I took the effort. I went through the expense and the risk and the time. And millions and millions and millions of other people have done this in these Democrat areas. Even though their families had been there for generations, their businesses were there, pick up, and they left. It's really stark when you look at what's going on. And the other thing is, the only reason that these other states can exist is because of a federal financial structure that allows the rest of the nation, 10% of the counties suck up 60% of all benefits. That has to come to an end. How do we detach? You've done a lot of research and money. We talk about money, and you've got the states that have no income tax and states that have high income tax. Ultimately, it only exists because the federal government allows the most corrupt states to continue to operate, and they don't shut the money off. Don't you think if we could really put the stake through the heart of the American mafia by simply stopping the financing of these Democrat corrupt areas such as Illinois?
Oh, absolutely. But then you're going to get everybody crying foul, saying you're killing children that need their benefits, or poor people that can't get a job, or the indigents, which is going to, they're going to do that anyway. But what you have to do is you have to, cut the head of the snake off. I'm sick and tired of it. But I can't believe that those on the left are not up in arms about the fact that their hard-earned tax-paying dollars went to pay for the the shelter and the food and to look after all these illegal immigrants that did not put a dime into the system. I don't understand. I mean, right there and then, to me, the left lost its argument. How are they spending our tax money on people that didn't put a damn thing into the pot to begin with? And now they're broke. And now they're cutting your services and hoping for a government handout. It's absolutely unconscionable, yet they're still standing up there facing the press and the public, and they're not even embarrassed about it.
Well,
how can you keep giving away our stuff without these people ever having put? I mean, you cannot do that. You can't have benefits and no border.
Low character and low intellect, and they're getting away with it because we allow this. This is the other thing, right? At a certain point, what would happen in the real world? You're put into receivership. You're going to operate under a restructuring scenario. So the deal is, whatever you thought you had, you cannot legislate in America communism or socialism or enslave your neighbor to the government worker. We know you pretended you did, but you can't. It's time for the men to come in the way the bank comes in when you stop making payments. The way the investors come in when you shaft them. When you steal the money, you go buy a Rolls Royce and you don't pay the dividends to the people who put up the money. It's here. Today's the day. We stop it all. It goes into receivership, and we restructure your benefits for your simpletons who you call constituents. And here's how you do it. The way it always should have been done. You want sustenance? The provider is reimbursed, and that's it. No more are we pretending economic illiterate children in man suits and women's suits are responsible enough to give the benefit to directly. You know, this all could stop tomorrow. You don't get the, are you a bum? Are you a moron? Can you not read or write? You don't get the money. The money goes to what you need. You got to go to the grocery store. You can't pay for your food. All right, Jewel, take down this idiot's Social Security number. What did this idiot buy? Bing, bing, bing. The government reimbursed Jewel. Jewel will not steal, because if it does, it will never exist again. If you keep pretending that thieves, scoundrels, and American Democrats can have their own money, you're insane. It's like giving Hunter Biden a Corvette. He's just going to smash it. It's over with.
Yeah, look, I agree. And then now you find out. I mean, look what this Nick Shirley's uncovered in Minnesota and California. He's going to go around the world, around the country doing that. And then Secretary Benson comes out and says that they think they found like $100 billion in Medicare fraud, which is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't even know where to begin the outrage. I don't know how to even. But there's going to be deniers that say that that's not true, or you're picking on a certain class of people, or you don't like Somalis. I'm telling you right now.
I don't. Why? Well, here's the other thing. I don't like you. I don't like you. Your entire country, your entire culture came to my country. You've been robbing us. You've been robbing us in Maine. You rob us in Ohio. You rob us in Minnesota. I got to like you now? I don't like you. I don't like you. I also got a cousin who I think is a useless piece of dung. If I ever see him again, I'm going to beat the hell out of him. He's a scumbag, too. I don't like scumbags. Do I have to pretend I do? Maybe that's the biggest problem. We kept buying this idea that you can have some sort of induced naivete, induced stupidity. Whether you want to call it political correctness or not is up to you. I don't care anymore.
How do you come to my country? You come from an absolute dog, horrible, rundown, corrupt country, and you come to my country, you get naturalized as a citizen, and then 7 years later, you want to run for and get elected to be the mayor of New York, and then tell me what it's like to be an American?
Well, there's also what's ironic about it, right? These are all people who come to the country they're fleeing a theocracy, chaos, bankruptcy, and corruption. And you come here and you do the same thing.
Yeah.
You come here and you do the same thing. Now, let's pretend we're back in Mogadishu. You know what you do? What you steal from me in Mogadishu, I'll cut your fracking hands off and feed them to my goat, who I may take to dinner on a Saturday night. But we're doing that now. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's preposterous.
Well, yeah, exactly right. And then if you want to be the third world, go ahead and start to import it, and you will be. That's what we've done. And we let these people steal right underneath our noses, and nobody had the temerity to try to stop it because it looked like it was going to be racism, because everybody's so afraid of being called a racist. And it doesn't mean anything anymore because everybody's a racist, apparently.
Yeah.
I've had enough of it.
Yeah. You know what I really hate? White people. I can't stand those white blue-eyed bastards, especially the commies, especially the Daily Democrats, you short-in-the-pants scoundrels. I can't stand white people either. Maybe we start a whole new party that if you ain't of a certain character or IQ, you're not allowed. What do you think?
I'll be like 7 people in your party, but you know,
Be
that's
like my
the problem.
cigar store on a weekend, and
Yeah.
you loved it. You loved it.
How about this? Here's another thing I'm really losing my mind up. I'm trying to craft a good argument about it, but all these people that get up to a podium and say, just like they recognize that we're on the stolen Lakota land. Why are we doing that? If you really believe that, then give back your land, whoever you're living, give it back to whomever the Dakota or Lakota are, and stop this fake. I'm sorry that I'm on your stolen land, but I'm not going to give it back garbage. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Or is it brilliant? And I'll tell you what I mean by this. In order to get somebody to embrace policies that are self-destructive, you must first take away their own character and their own dignity. Even though your policies pretend to deliver it, you must take the individuals away, right? And that's how you could have all of this talk, this new rise of the repulsive, the American communist movement, right? So in order to do that, you must make them feel guilty or obligated for something they had nothing to do with. And also, you have to tell them the lie of why that is a lie, right? So you have to make it feel like the big white guy came with his costume on from the Santa Maria. He lands on Plymouth Rock and he kills all the Indians, rather than the reality of what happened. And the Comanche, which my favorite Indian tribe, bar none. You know why, Scott, do you know what that translates to? Why they were the most feared? Enemy of all. The Comanche were me. They were the enemy of everybody. They didn't like anybody. And who they really didn't like were other Indians. Killed them all, enslaved them, raped their women. They were like the Islamo-Nazis of America before Mohammed made up that fraud religion. So it's a fascinating reality that how miseducated, how undereducated. And you know what else we did? We pay $1 trillion a year for the public school system, and it's kicking out communists. Why don't we stop doing that first?
Well, why is everything in play all the time? Why isn't there a definitive book on history? Why has everybody always got to say, oh, that's written by a racist point of view? Oh, that's not right.
Howard Zinn. One man did that. One man.
Yeah, but why? There's nothing that's definitive. Everything's in play, and it drives me crazy because you can cite something that you think is reasonable, and the other side will say, no, that's written by a guy that beat his wife 25 years ago, so he has to be discounted. I don't know. It's unbelievable. There is no definitive ruling on anything. Everything is in play nowadays, so there's always, this is what they do, always moving the goalposts. I do like the Conservative Party because there's a standard, and that standard is the goalpost, and it's always stayed where it's at. But on the left, they move the goalpost depending on the argument. Well, and that's what they do every single time.
I'll tell you that. I'll bet you a steak dinner. And let me tell you something. I know it would be cheaper to take you to Nordstrom's. I'm still willing to risk it. I'll bet you a steak dinner.
I go to Omar the Tent Maker. I don't go to Nordstrom's.
I will bet you a steak dinner that Mitch McConnell, this will be the biggest political scandal. This will suck all the air out of the room of the stolen election, of Obama using the CIA. And I really do believe that Jiminy Cricket lookalike scoundrel's been dead for weeks. I do.
I mean, it's unbelievable. That would be an absolute.
He says no from his bedroom, from the hospital bed. No on the SAVE Act. Put him on camera. I want to watch him say no.
Well, the only thing I've seen that made me laugh about it all is they have a picture of it that he's alive and well, and standing at his bedside is John Wayne and Elvis. So
I like the one where he's like Gary Oldman in Dracula. He's got the hairdo and the costume on, and the wife's dressed like remember what's her? Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. But this is the position we're in, and you know what it stems back to, Scott, what you and I used to talk about when you were, I don't know if I think you might have moved out by now. Remember when Jeannie Ives was taking on 7 Foot of Stupid? When he was
gone.
Oh, were you gone?
I was gone. Yeah.
But you and I were talking. I remember you'd come into town and and then you'd see all the scum Republicans, like from Hassert to LaHood to the Durkins and all the morons that sat there and thought they were in on the scam because they got to wet their beaks the whole years that they were destroying.
Absolutely.
And then and you see the idea that, listen, man, there's no resistance to corruption. There's no resistance to fraud, to misrepresentation. There's just cut me in or cut it out. And it reminds you of, what happens in these areas. You have to flee, man. You have to. You have to do what businesses do. You have to do what capitalism does. And I'm going to let you know, I called the Texas Stock Exchange thinking we could buy a seat. They laughed at me. They don't do it like that anymore. No seat, no nothing. It's all electronic.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got a friend of mine who's very well versed in all that stuff. And he said, the difference between he thinks well, there's more business going on in Texas than New York anyway, but that Texas exchange is going to be a very, very big force because they're only going to take a certain quality of company. They're not just going for the listing. You have to be a certain quality of company. So it's not going to just be whoever gets the listing. So I tell you what, we're going to see some changes here. And those 11 states I talk about, and the $9 trillion in GDP, that might be their own country. I mean, it just might be.
Well, this is the beautiful thing. It's set up that way. And when you look at earnings week and you look at these companies and you look at these capitalists, and, it gives you a certain sense of confidence that maybe you shouldn't have to discount these ghetto areas, these Democrat-run commie areas. But what I think is happening is it is setting up for the legal secession versus a civil war. It's already there. It's already happened. And if you look at Illinois and you see the financial fraud going on here, kid, you wouldn't believe it. Companies all financed by fraud policies. They pretend that they're going to do agriculture. It's all grant money. So-and-so soybean company is going to invest $250 million. It's a grant. They're not going to invest a fracking penny. And when the grant dries up, they're going to bail. I mean, when you look at how few private companies, private jobs exist anymore in Cook County in Illinois, whew, I don't think you have to even win another election. It doesn't matter. Congratulations, you're the governor of an armpit.
I just look at people. I still follow a lot of people back in Chicago and especially Chicago. I tell you, I look at the real estate a lot, and I just cannot believe now. It happened about the last 10 business days. I got an email saying that Illinois is now the highest real estate tax in the country. They overtook New Jersey. New Jersey used to be number one.
Yeah,
and so. Why don't people understand? The problem is the people that should leave are not going to be able to afford to leave. And now they're going to make their houses unsellable. And they're absolutely driving these people into dust. And I don't know how long it's going to take them to realize that, but they're sucking you in with these low upfront asset prices. And there's a reason why they're low, numbnuts, is because the place blows, but they're going to suck you in because you're going to get a nice place with a great view and a low HOA. And, oh, by the way, here's your tax bill. It went up by 2.5 times. Well, that's what they're going to do.
Well, these neighborhoods have been enclaves forever, right? They're sequestered, right? If you have a good enough neighborhood, you could kind of hope that the scoundrels and the scumbags come out. Well, that has been creeping now, right? So in my old area, nobody moves. You talk about these neighborhoods from Melrose Park, Elmwood Park, they don't move. They're generations. So I'm back now. And good, decent people. I was talking to a kid today.
Are you living there full time now?
I'm in Florida full time. I just come back for parties. And I do. It's a family party. I'll see you tomorrow on Saturday. So it's funny because I saw a friend of mine who you would know. Used to be at the Merc with me, and we all know the same people. And I haven't seen him in years. And I was talking to him today on the side of the road. He was like, it's unbelievable, the private industries, the private businesses, what's happening and how they're taxing us. Now, he's smart enough to have a couple of interests. How they're taxing this and they're taxing that. They're making it more onerous, and family businesses and good thriving businesses, how hard they're hanging on. And they're constantly talking this communism of raising taxes, raising regulations. He's like, I don't know how much more they're going to push us. It's like they don't care. And ta-da, what did you think they did? Did you think they cared about you because you make things go around? If they cared about you, they wouldn't be overtaxing the people who make the quality of life better. They don't care. And that's the sad part. It's going to have to get even further than it is because there's no recognition of how to substantiate the good and not penalize the good and reward the bad. They can't figure it out yet.
Well, no, they can. And again, it's going to be one of those things that when you finally realize that it's too late, you can't go back. It's like you're not going to be able to unring the bell. Tommy Tuberville, I think the governor of Georgia, or whatever he is, a senator, maybe, I can't remember. But
yeah.
When we had, I think he's a senator, when we had Hochul ban or a 1 year moratorium on data centers in New York, he just took to the airwaves right away and says, "We'll do it. We'll bring down your millionaires and your data centers. We're good to go. We'll put them in." I mean, these states down here, these 11 states with that attitude, they're going to start putting up billboards in Illinois and New Jersey and New York and saying, "Come on down."
Oh yeah,
you see how it really works. Yeah.
You know what's funny about the data centers? I'm glad you brought that up, and I'll tell you what. I don't like cheering what doesn't rationalize and make sense to me. This whole thing of data centers, I heard the morning show Dan had on the guy with the glasses, who was a really good guy. He was a consultant, Stephen Moore. I sat at a wedding with him. And he's like, if you want the internet, if you want maps, if you want your email. Oh, wait a minute. Whoa. We have all that stuff now. What do you mean? And then you listen to the real brains, right? The Elon Musks, the Bezos. They talk about data centers. They're already starting the project in space. When you look at the data centers in Illinois, there's a big push. Who's the push by? It's by Pritzker. It's by the Democrats as the illusion of a business. And I'm still unsettled with the argument of, why do you need it and why don't I need it? Why don't you have the individual data storage that I control my data? And it gets you cheering for somebody else monetizing Scott's data, my data, the listener's data. I don't like it. You have me cheering too fast without showing me why it's advantageous to have these things. You're just telling me what it is. I feel like the first time an insurance or an encyclopedia salesman came to the store and tried to sell my grandfather. Well, tell me a little bit more. They're not filling me in. I don't like the whole business plan. Am I wrong?
No, you're right to be skeptical. I totally understand that. But here's where I could take away a lot of your skepticism. We have just under 5,000 data centers running in this country right now, and they have been running since 2010. It's not a new thing. It's just that there's been some environmental people that have gotten a hold of it from a different country and from the left that want to slow it down because it's a good thing, and they're using in the environment and things like that to try to slow it down, and it's working. They're getting the general public all worked up about polluting the water and the noise and all the things that go along with it. But we've got almost 5,000 of them running right now in this country, and we have done. So everything that you're talking about has already happened. So it's already been going through data centers. You're about 8 years too late.
Yeah. I think were they privately funded up until now? Why is it so much in the public?
No. Oh yeah, they've been privately funded. Yeah. And so these things, it's been. I had to do some research because somebody kind of came at me on my show, and I went, you know what? Before I flap my gums anymore, I'm going to do some research, and I did. And there's around 4,800 data centers that have been running, and they started in 2010. Okay. So I mean, it's already happening. It's already done.
Well, I remember that digital realty company. Remember that when that came out? I remember when that came out. Yeah. And a friend of mine said, this is going to be. And what they did is they started to redevelop ghetto areas. There's one on Grand Avenue, not far from right off of Manheim. And that you want to talk about a blighted area. Whew. And they came in and they rescued some of it. But Scott, when it comes to this kind of thing, when we talk about it, the environment. Joe Biden's administration seized 643 million acres of water and land, 44 million acres of land. We're only 6% developed. Why not put these data centers, because they can sustain themselves now that their technology is different. They have their water. They can run on different generators. They can run on solar. They can run on a certain form, a combination of both, or you can simply build nuclear. Right? That's why Bill Gates bought the 3 Mile Island. Why not put them in the middle, in the middle of nowhere? We're only 6% developed. Put them right in the middle of one of these 44 million acres that Joe Biden seized. No.
And make them, and make them be their own power plants, like Trump has mentioned already. So they use less water than a golf course. They can turn themselves into their own power plants. A lot of those things we can put them out there. Or you know what? Another guy wrote on my show, real smart guy. He says, hey. You know how many blighted, big, mile-long car manufacturing facilities that are empty in this country?
Thousands.
They could be turned into data centers. They could be turned into data centers overnight. They're ready to go.
Yeah, you can't put them in Detroit anymore because somebody will break into them. They don't even care what's inside. They're just looking to break a window. I got to tell you, when I buy some islands in the Bahamas and form my own country, you are definitely going to be the president, the chief assistant, and secretary of money. Will you take the job, Scott Shellady?
I'll take it before I even know where it's at. I'll take it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I always appreciate you making time every day, 12:30 to 1:30 on RFD TV. Scott Shellady, Scott the Call Guy, close. Thank you very much.
All right, brother. See you. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
He believes in freedom, capitalism, and individual liberty. And because of that, he's become an enemy of the state. He's Shaun Thompson, and this is The Shaun Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.